So, and she's very heavy, so when she impacts, it's quite a serious impact, so that's why I generally check her out. But you can look for signs of concussion and sleepiness when they shouldn't be sleepy, and rolling eyes,
Vomiting.
Yeah, and vomiting. These are issues that you should be down at A&E and you should get that checked out.
But also behavioural changes.
Yeah, any
immediately
behaviour,
after.
yes.
I think it's 72 hours after or something is quite normal. So not to get worried about that.
Okay, so there'll be some behaviour changes, but the one to look out for is the vomiting and the concussion and the sleepiness.
Yeah. But they might get moody or irritable or something like that.
Yeah, pain can do that.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you. And going on to rashes, and obviously it depends what the rash is, and I think you want to find out the cause of these rashes. So it could be a certain chemical you've come into contact with, it could be a nettle, it could be chicken pox. Oh, I bet somebody scratched already just by talking about rashes. So that you need to find out what's behind these things. But just for the moment, as a first aid issue, again, lavender, diluted lavender oil, aloe vera gel, witch hazel, and an Urtica cream. So Urtica is that's a remedy as well, isn't it? You can get it in cream form as well, just to sort of take the itchiness out of the rash. If it's a chicken pox rash, they say that oatmeal in a bath is really fantastic. You just run oatmeal under running water, and that's very, very soothing. And lavender again, very, very soothing.
Well, I tend to use the Bach emergency cream is the Ainsworth one, because you
I
can get
don't
the
know that
Nelson's, the yellow one, but that doesn't seem to work as well. We use, my son's got lots of rashes on his bottom at the moment, and we're using the Bach emergency one, which
Bach
is
emergency cream.
yeah, it's
Bach
Ainsworth,
emergency cream.
and that's really, really good. And we've tried all the oils and everything, and it's not really.
And that's the best one that you found for rashes.
I actually used that during pregnancy too, because I had lots of rashes.
Oh, that's good. Thank you. So a few more.
Sorry,
Yes.
But you talking about the batch emergency.
Yeah.
Because Ainsworth do the spray, the non-alcoholic spray as well, which is really good for shock or if there's any sort of trauma, just spray it around, spray it in, spray it around, spray.
And it's from the flowers.
It's batch.
Batch flowers, yeah. We had this guy, some of us were here, he was a craniosacral therapist, and he works with horses in Claygate with craniosacral work and using the flowers. And he owns a farm, and he's got a meadow and a woodland, and he grows his own flowers for this purpose. And he said that there's two incidences in our history that are sort of like a bit of a phenomena. And the first one was flowers. So usually you can trace things that have come sort of like through nature and developments, as our earth grew. But flowers just suddenly seemed to appear. First of all, plants would send out little runners, and then they would just pop up the other side, or they'd have little prickly burrs that would stick on animals and get transported that way. But flowers just seemed to just suddenly calm. And then he said there's a great intelligence in flowers, and that there is something with the flower that like an essence of the flower that can help us. And that sort of makes sense, if we're using food, and if this is a mint plant, if you're using things from nature to help us, then why not the flowers? And a lot of people have found batch flowers really help, haven't they?
This is Paul Stroh.
Yeah, amazing guy. And eyes. Sorry?
On the nettles, what you can use if you're out and about is a plantain leaf, which is very common.
Yes, because you don't always find a dock leaf. You hope to find a dock leaf, but if you don't find a dock leaf, the plantain is a very common. It's a long. Well, there's some that are small around, and you'll recognise it because it's got sort of strings running through it, and it's a weed. I had a herb walk on my hen day. It was lovely, and we did see what the plantain looked like. And again, that's got an oil in there that then I suppose counteracts the sting. Thank you. Yeah.
And on antiseptic, if you've got an infection, sage helps as well.
And sage.
Sage for sore throat as well.
Okay, for any infection. It's interesting actually because the winter herbs that you would traditionally use in the winter, like rosemary, sage and thyme, they're really good for colds. So generally cooking with those. Thank you. Eyes, I've got euphrasia tincture and witch hazel compress. So there's euphrasia that you can get in a tincture I don't know how that comes because I've never used it, but lots of people do use it. Does anybody here use Tracy?
Use
How
it
does
a lot,
does
yeah.
do you
could use
spray
it?
it?
No,
How does
you
it
buy
come?
it in a herbal form and you dilute it. So you might
Yeah.
use 1 or 2 drops if I use it for conjunctivitis or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'd use it in a saline solution mainly, and then add that to it afterwards. And you literally add a couple of drops, and then pulsatilla works really well with that.
Okay.
there's
Yeah,
a-
fresh as a remedy as well.
Yes, you
Yeah,
know
yeah,
it's
yeah,
a,
you can buy it
remedy
in
as
the
well.
yeah.
Or liquid
Yeah.
remedy, and you can put it in boiled water.
Yeah.
Yeah, and yes, using clean boiled water. Yeah, thank you. And then the witch hazel, I read that you again dilute it. You're not using directly on the eye, but you're closing your eye, but you're just putting it on the top there. So witch hazel is something that was recommended to me recently, and I've never used it, but it sounds like a really nice product. When I started reading about it, it looks a really nice product. Tummy upsets. I've got probiotics, definitely, they're fantastic. Stewed apple is fantastic. They say that the only thing that you can eat and should eat when you have a really, really bad dose of sickness or diarrhoea is stewed apple, because once you stew the apple, or if you grate it and let it go brown, the pectin really acts to bind what's in the tummy and makes you feel a lot better. Plus you've got a little bit of nutrition and natural sugar to give you a little bit of oomph. And the next best thing for stewed apple is mashed potato. So mashed potato is sort of like quite soothing and benign. It's not going to help, but it's something you can eat and it won't do you any more harm. So that might get you through, might get your child through a few days if they're off their food. Stewed apple. So where's my apple? I did bring the apple. And somebody else said golden seal root extract, which is again is a herb that I've never used. I don't know if anyone's used golden seal. It's really disgusting taste, isn't it? Probably not for children. Not for the faint-hearted. So, is there anything else on a first aid level? Obviously, this is a first aid thing. This is the type of thing that you would do at home. And normally, you might have your Savlon and your antiseptic sprays and your Calpol. You might have those normally at home, but these are the things that you might want to start introducing as opposed to the other products. But if there's anything that lasts longer, like I think if a fever lasts longer than 3 days, or if you have a rash that keeps reoccurring, it's basically, if anything it keeps reoccurring, you can't get rid of it, or you can't help alleviate the symptoms, then that is when you want to check something out. And that's when it becomes not a first aid issue, and that's when it becomes more of an acute issue.
At the recent conference I went to, an autism conference, they were very critical about paracetamol, and in fact they said that the amount of autism increased as they started decreasing children's aspirin and increasing paracetamol. So rather than linking it to the vaccines, it was actually linked also to the use of paracetamol. So they really, really warned about giving children paracetamol, and in combination with the vaccines.
The combination is really, I think, really, really damaging. And a really nice paper to read is on the what's that lovely green magazine? I forgot it now. The Ecologist, that's right, the Ecologist magazine. They do a really lovely series of articles called Behind the Label. So they look at products, and they've done one on Calpol. So if you Google Calpol Behind the Label, you get all of the evidence about it. And we do use it a lot. Each country has a different, don't think that this is worldwide. Each country has its particular favourite products or combinations, and it's all to do with the culture and the society that we live in. But we use a lot of Calpol, and there seems to be lots of problems with that. And I met a lady whose son died hours after his MMR, but at the hearing the judge said that he couldn't actually tell whether it was the MMR or the Calpol that she'd given, because often you're told to give Calpol, aren't you, before the vaccines to help with the pain, but the combination is not always a good one. Yeah, Calpol is a problem.
They actually said ibuprofen in that case was almost better.
So ibuprofen is a better product for children with vaccines.
Yeah.
Thank you. When you're at your break, I might just try and find something else to do with the Calpol that was quite important. I'll have a look at that. So you've been ever so good and lovely audience. So I don't know if would you like to have like a 10-minute break, go to the toilet, there's some nibbles over there, and then we'll come back and there's a few other little ideas that we can cover, and that would be being healthy when you travel and what you might want to take with you when you're travelling, and how to look after a child when they've got a fever.